Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode of Red Cape Sports. And today is an incredibly exciting episode. For those of you who are in the hobby or just starting to get into the hobby, you probably recognize our awesome guest here today, the sports card investor himself, Geoff Wilson. Geoff, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, Bert, happy to be here, man, for sure.
Awesome. Now, Geoff, of course we know almost everything that there is to know about you, except for how did you first start making your YouTube channel and why did you start making it?
Yeah, I started last July. And the reason why I started was because when I got back into the hobby, which was the year prior, I couldn't help but notice the investment potential in sports cards. And I was fascinated by how cards were going up and down in value all the time on eBay. I was constantly making these spreadsheets using tools like PwC's market price research tool, which is arcane, but nonetheless, it was the best that there was. So I was using the data from it. And I was craving there to be some media source, some YouTube channel or some podcast that was doing episodes diving into the numbers. And there was nobody who was doing it consistently. There were some podcasts that would cover it sometimes, but not with any type of real consistency where I was kind of craving to get weekly market updates and all that kind of stuff. And I wasn't hearing it anywhere. And so I eventually said, you know what, there have to be other people like me who want to talk about sports cards from an investing standpoint. And so I'm going to create the content myself. I'm going to create the content that I would personally like to hear.
Now, obviously you had some crazy growth since you started doing this, but did you ever expect it to get this big so quickly?
I did not expect it to get this big so quickly. I expected it to be successful. I expected that. I felt like the market was really heating up, and I felt like if I could get in with unique content and speak uniquely to the market in a way that they weren't being spoken to early and kind of catch the wave, I thought it could become successful. But no, I did not think it would become as successful as quickly as it has become.
Mm-hmm. And really quickly, I also just want to touch base quickly on COVID-19, because there was a lot of people wondering what's going to happen to the market. But like you've kind of identified, with no sports, we're now seeing more people from the fantasy side of things, more people from, sports gambling even. So do you think the market's only going to get bigger and bigger right now? Like, is right now the best time to get into the market?
I think now is actually a good time to get into the market because, first of all, the growth was incredible in April and early May. And it was, we had when sports paused, we did have a decline for a few weeks, the second half of March. And I felt like, okay, it's going to decline for a little bit. Then people will probably start to chill out a little bit and it will pause and it will kind of plateau. Right. And then it will eventually come back as sports start, being talked about again. They start, the seasons start up and that kind of stuff. I did not expect it to come roaring back quite as quickly. I was not expecting April to turn into the biggest growth month in the history of the entire hobby of all time. Wow. Which is what it turned into. I've talked to multiple dealers who have told me that April was by far the busiest month they've ever had in the history of their store, and that includes back in the 80s and the 90s during the boom. So it's what we saw in April was incredible. It continued in May. This last week, I did see things start to cool off a little bit. Nothing has gone down. Card prices are still climbing, but they've been climbing more slowly this past 7 to 10 days than what they were, for most of April. And honestly, that's, natural. I mean, so we had such a boom period. I think it's okay for it to cool off a little bit. But I really do think that once the sports schedules get cemented, once we know when baseball is going to resume, when hockey is going to resume, when NBA is going to resume and the plans are in the works and the teams are starting to practice, I think you're going to see interest roar back up again. So yeah, I would actually say take advantage. If we do enter a little bit of a lull here for the next few weeks, I would take advantage of this time I think it's a really good time to look for some deals and invest. And I particularly would invest in the sports that we think are gonna come back and we're gonna be seeing again on our TVs here in the next 60 days.
Right. And I do want to mention also quickly, one of the things that we can utilize in order to tell us, okay, how is the market doing, is of course your market data movers tool. Tell us a bit about that. How does it work? How can people who don't know about it get into this?
Yeah. So, as I was doing the investing on my own, I wanted to understand how cards were changing in price. Without the market movers data tool that I developed, it's really hard to do across a whole bunch of cards. Yes, you can go look in eBay completed listings and get a sense of it, but it's really difficult to track over time, and it's really difficult to track across thousands of cards. And so I said there has to be a website that makes it super easy, where all you have to do is go in and put in the player name you're looking for, and it will give you a whole list of different cards from that player, different sets, different variations, different grades. And you just simply say, show me this one, show me this one, show me this one, and instantly builds a graph and shows you all of the recent sales. And I wanted the data to be super clean, because when you go on eBay, and even if you search completed items on eBay for a particular card, you get all kinds of junk in there that aren't really the card you were looking for. People try to trick it by putting like PSA 10 ? In the title, or they'll put something's a silver even though it's not a silver, all that kind of junk. And my tool gets rid of all of that, because it uses artificial intelligence to determine if the listing is actually what they say the listing is, and it only puts the ones that it determines, yeah, these are real legit listings. It puts them into the data pool. So yeah, it's a really neat tool. Anyone who wants to check it out can go to my website, sportscardinvestor.com, and click on Market Movers, and it tells more about the tool there.
Yeah, that's amazing. It sounds to me like the reason you guys started for YouTube and the fact that you were able to make this Market Movers tool, that was due to answering questions and solving issues that you had, right? So by doing that, you've been able to solve problems that we had. Like, for example, even our show, we started because it was a good way for me and my brother to connect. And I like the investing, and sports cards they're amazing right now. What I noticed as well was, I want to make filmmaking very cool in sports cards. I want to make sports cards look cool, and there aren't a lot of channels that do that. But, there's a lot of channels like you guys are producing amazing content. So is that what's keeping you going as well? Just solving and answering these questions that, you have yourself?
Well, I think a lot of the best business ideas in any industry are born that way. Often when I'm a technology investor during the day, I invest in tech startups, and I've started other companies. And oftentimes the startups that I'm most attracted to are ones where the founder, there was a personal problem that they encountered in their job or in their industry. And they said, you know what, like, I've been working in this industry, whatever their industry is, for 20 years. And this thing that we have to do is so difficult, but everyone in my industry has to do it. And, I've got an idea to build a technology platform, an app, a website, software, whatever, that's going to make this thing so much easier. And when I hear that, I say, yeah, I want to invest in that. Because if you're solving a personal pain, something that you personally have experienced in an industry that you're going to be a really good founder. And really within sports cards, that is what I did for myself. I understood the pain of tracking prices. I understood the pain of, trying to understand the market as a whole. I understood the pain of not being able to consume content related to all of this. And I said, I want to build the solution. And I feel like if I can solve my own pain, then it's also going to help other people solve their pain, because I can't possibly be the only person that is experiencing this or wishing this type of thing existed.
For sure. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because, I've been doing this for quite some time now, but I still feel like I'm always having things to learn. So, yourself and us and all the other people on YouTube, really trying to come together to build the community to really solve all these unanswered questions. I mean, there's only going to be more and more unanswered questions. So I really do appreciate your videos.
Yeah, well, thank you. And you guys have done great with your videos as well. As I mentioned, I came across your channel a few months ago and I've watched some of your videos. And, the more content, the better. Like there's so many people getting into the hobby. They need help. They need guidance. And having different ideas and different opinions from different content creators is a healthy thing. So I think it's great that you guys are doing that and are trying to add to the mix of, high quality content in the hobby.
Yeah, I think that's one aspect that I like. I'm more of, the producer video kind of guy, but Bert and I used to do YouTube a long time ago. We had some goofy channels, but we didn't stick to it. I mean, there wasn't the revenue back then. And, when you're kids and you're doing other stuff, you don't take it as serious. But yeah, like it's exciting to see. What is one big element of sports cards though, Geoff, that you see that people aren't paying a lot of attention to? Like, where's going to be this next trend or boom?
That's a hard question, because even in the year that or a little less than a year that I've been producing the content, the market has become so much more sophisticated. It used to be like I did some videos last year on things like, hey guys, if you anticipate who's going to get elected to the Hall of Fame, you just simply need to buy their cards a few months before it's announced they're going to be in the Hall of Fame. And guess what? Your cards are going to go up in value. Like it's something very obvious. Like it worked, in 2018 and 2017 and 2016. It doesn't work as well in 2020 because people are more sophisticated. Another thing was, buy cards in the off season because they're cheaper. It's like, oh, don't buy cards during the season, buy cards in the off season and then sell them during the season and you'll make money. That actually worked, in 2016 and 2017 and 20, doesn't work anymore, and so it's like, it's a harder question to answer than it would have been, to answer 9 months ago. Personally, I think that at this very moment in time, and of course the window on this is starting to close right now, I would buy the modern players, I would buy the rookies, because while everybody in the sports card industry has been looking towards the classic players this last 3 months, everyone's been buying the Jordans and the classic basketball, and then that spilled over into people buying Tom Brady and Drew Brees and buying Gretzky and buying all these other guys that are all the classic iconic players. There's not nearly as many people buying, Tyler Hero and Kobe White and Roy Hachimura and those types of guys as there was when the NBA season was going on a few months ago. Now, those are not necessarily the guys who I would say buy those guys for sure, because I would favor right now buying guys who are going to be playing in the playoffs when the leagues resume, because a player who's on a bad team in the NBA, even if he's a hot rookie like Kobe White, you're not really going to see Kobe White again until next season. So I actually probably wouldn't buy Kobe White right this minute. I instead would be thinking about who are the guys we're going to see in the playoffs? Who are the guys we're going to see maybe in the conference finals or the NBA finals, or in the NHL playoffs, potential for a deep run, that type of thing. Those would be the guys I concentrated on, and not a lot of people have been paying attention the last couple of months since all the attention and money has gone back towards the iconic cards.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's funny that you mentioned players who we're going to see when sports resume, because one player who I personally feel that a lot of investors overlook is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Mm-hmm. And I feel like mix him with Kawhi, and he's in a pretty good market right now in LA. I feel like his cards are, well, for certain, they have a lot of room for growth. And of course, using the market movers data tool, we can see those trends.
Right. Well, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is in Oklahoma City now. He was in LA. Yes. Got shifted over to Oklahoma City, but yes, he's an exciting young player. And Oklahoma City's been surprisingly good. So I think they are doing better than what people thought they were going to do when they lost Westbrook. So He's definitely an exciting young player. Now he's a Canadian, right? Is this a Canadian endorsement?
No, we don't do that.
It wouldn't be a Canadian endorsement, but definitely don't sleep on them.
Otherwise, it'd be called like the Gretzky Show or something. Like, yeah.
I think he is a Canadian. I could be wrong on that, but I think he's a Canadian.
I think he is too.
What's that?
I think he is. I'm a Zion fan and like Luka and those type of guys. So yeah, we don't have a lot of Canadian superstars. I mean, in comparison to, you know, the US, right? So
yeah. Well, you got hockey, and you know, I'll be honest, I don't pay as much attention to the hockey card market. But we have built hockey into our Market Movers data tool now, and we've been adding hockey cards to it steadily. So, you know, we've got a lot of the young guns from recent years in the tool now, as well as certainly some of the classic players, you know, like Gretzky and Lemieux and guys like that as well. And so I've started to pay a little more attention to the hockey market. What's your feeling on that right now?
Oh, hockey in Canada is the biggest thing. And when hockey comes back, specifically Toronto, I mean, it doesn't matter where you are in Canada, you're going to see someone who's a Leafs fan. It's just the way it goes. And no matter how much you love the Leafs or how much you hate the Leafs, you see them everywhere. And I mean, you got William Nylander, you got Matthews, you got Mitch Marner. Hockey in general is definitely, I would arguably say, a safe buy, but specifically the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, we've seen what Toronto does. Like when the Raptors won it all, Jurassic Park came and flooded the streets of Toronto. But when the Leafs win, forget about it. It's going to be 5 times busier.
Yeah, Austin Matthews, though, his price has gone up a little bit, but he is legit up there with some of the greats. Like, I'm a huge Ovechkin fan. I used to be a big fan of Lemieux when I was a kid. But again, I think Lemieux, I mean, some people might get upset, but if Lemieux played for as long as Gretzky did, I think he would have had more goals. So there's a lot of really good players that just didn't have the long careers in hockey, but it's very physical, right? And you got to remember, when you're playing hockey, like when you watch a game, like you can fight guys. You can't do that in basketball. You can't just drop the mitts. Like, it's not like The Last Dance, right? So, but yeah, I would look into like players like Austin Matthews. That would be a pretty good hint.
I'm going to look him up as we're talking here. I'm curious. Yeah. I know he's in our Market Movers data tool. I'm curious what his price movements have been. I know he certainly is a popular player. There's been a lot of interest on him, and from folks who I'm going to look at his Upper Deck and his SP Authentic Future Watch and Young Guns, and let's see, maybe look at a PSA 10 to see how many of those are out there.
Well, that's the thing too, right? Like, no, people tend to collect goal scorers, and Austin Matthews is a born goal scorer.
Yeah.
I believe now it's 4 or 5 straight years of 30-plus goals, and that's really hard to find. And especially when you're in a market like Toronto, I mean, if he goes deep into the playoffs, if they can finally crack past that first round, then watch out.
Yeah, you know, what's interesting is his prices really haven't moved over the last 90 days. So his most recent sale of his 2016 Young Guns base PSA 10 appears to be right around, the last one appears to be $284. There was some right before that. Actually, I can't tell if that's his base or his exclusive.
Probably his exclusive.
Yeah, in PSA 10, that might be that. I'm not sure, but that same card was $270 3 months ago. So actually, there hasn't been much movement. So that's kind of interesting. I'm sure there was movement before that, but over the last 3 months, basically the time that sports has been paused, his cards have remained relatively flat. So maybe there is opportunity to pick up some Austin Matthews cards.
Yeah, at least take a look. Maybe watch him play too, some highlights.
Sure.
I mean, that's the thing that I find too with this decentralized world. I was like, Bird, I haven't been in sports cards for a while, and now I've been back into it for a couple of years. And I told Bird, I'm like, man, with YouTube and content and video, like if you really stick to it a little bit, I think there's a lot of room for new investors and collectors to pick it up with this decentralized world. Do you find that too, Geoff?
I agree. Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's great hobby content online and great content and being able to learn about stars. And there's so much ability to do research now online in a variety of different ways. Look at stats, look at card prices, look at all kinds of elements that can factor into the sports card market. And as you said, learn from, so many different content creators out there that it's certainly a real advantage. And honestly, one of the reasons why I'm so high on the sports card market right now is that when I used to collect as a kid, many people like me collected as kids and then have gotten back into it recently. Cards were not liquid. Like it was very difficult to sell a card. You could look at the Beckett price guide and it told you it was worth $50, but where are you going to sell it for $50? You're going to walk into your local card shop and try to sell it to the dealer for $50. He's not going to buy it for $50. He may not buy it at all, but if he buys it, he's going to buy it for $25 because he wants to resell it for $50. So where, are you going to sell it to a friend? Probably not. So like back then it wasn't liquid. Today you can toss a card on eBay on a one-day auction and have your money out of it tomorrow. And it's easy to sell stuff. And it's, and obviously there's a lot of other options beyond eBay as well, but eBay gives you the most immediate liquidity. So it's one reason why I'm really high on sports cards right now from an investment standpoint.
And really quick too, you mentioned eBay, and a lot of people tend to call it fee-bay, but to me, those fees are almost worth it, right? Because you're reaching such a more specific audience and even a larger audience in some cases. So kind of take us through what do you feel is, I guess, the best way to sell sports cards right now?
eBay also provides, a lot of protection, which is nice as well for both the buyer and the seller, so some of that is built into the fees, the fact that there is protection and, there's a customer service staff. Now, some people complain about the customer service staff, but there at least is built-in mechanisms and tracking and all this kind of stuff, right? So, I mean, the fees come into play, obviously, a little bit more if you're trying to do flipping, if you're trying to buy a card and then hope it goes up 30% in a couple of weeks and then sell it. Well, you're gonna lose more than 10% in fees. And so, if your card went up 25%, it's a little rough to, for your fees to be that much. On the other hand, if you're buying cards and they're going up 2 or 3x, the fees as a ratio to the profit that you're making become much less and become much more manageable. So, there are alternatives. I mean, some people like to sell through Facebook groups. My Discord chat server, my Sports Card Investor Discord chat server, which is free, by the way, for people to join. It has a buy, sell, trade channel that's quite active now. And in fact, we have a separate buy, sell, trade channel just for our members. I just the other day, I bought a couple of LeBron cards off of another member who is selling them in the buy, sell, trade channel. And so you can do things like that, but obviously, you got to kind of know who you're dealing with and, be careful a little bit more. And then there's also alternatives like ComC and StockX and those types of things, but, they've got fees too, just in a little bit of a different way.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. I just have one more question for you, Geoff, just to kind of turn it a little bit away from sports cards. But you say that you, during the day, has that changed due to the fact that, your brand has grown a little bit and obviously it's going to take up more time? Like, are you still investing in tech companies or are you mostly just working on sports cards now?
No, I still run a innovation and growth company called 352, and we do growth marketing, digital marketing, software development, and innovation and strategy work for companies to help them grow. So I still run that, and then I've also still actively involved in the Atlanta Tech Village and other startup programs and doing some investing and mentoring through those types of programs. So it's a busy life. the fact that Sports Card Investor has grown and has taken off so well has been awesome. At the same time, I haven't slept a lot. It's one of those things. I've been working a ton. I've been working, every Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night. My wife barely sees me. My kids see me for like an hour. I work from the moment I get up, see them a little bit before bedtime, and then immediately go back to work. Like last night, I was working till one in the morning, and then up again this morning at 7:30 a.m. to start working again. And that's what life is like when you're trying to really scale a new business and run existing businesses and everything like that. And over time, that will hopefully get better as I get more help around me and that kind of stuff. But startup life is it's a invigorating life. It's a fun life. It's a life that I love because you can throw your heart and soul and your passion and your blood, sweat, and tears into something, but it's also a big time commitment. And that's why why entrepreneurship and starting a business like that isn't right for everybody, because different people have different life circumstances and that may not be possible or that may not be appealing, to some people.
Yeah, it's true. There's no such thing as work-life balance, right? I do a lot of online courses and it's been, I understand part of that, but good for you, man. That's amazing. You're still going at it, and you have a lot of, family stuff going on too. Like I don't have kids. That's amazing, man.
It's a lot to balance, but it keeps it fun and interesting. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I think I would be bored if I wasn't, if I wasn't constantly working on something.
Before we let you go, is there anything else that you want to add? Anything that we haven't quite had the chance to ask you yet in terms of maybe the importance of getting younger kids into the market, or even how you're going to see the market grow?
Yeah. Well, in terms of the market overall, I think we've got a great run ahead of us. I don't know how long it will last, but I feel like we got at least, 3 to 5 years. I think we got some great years ahead of us here. It may eventually wane some. I could see this being a little bit of a popularity, bubble. And then some people kind of, maybe they don't love the hobby as much. So they, some of the people who are just getting into it strictly from an investing standpoint, they don't really love the cards, or, maybe some of them start to kind of filter off over time. And, but I think we're going to have so many new people continue to come into the hobby, rediscover the hobby, that we've got some strong years ahead of us before we get to that point. Kids is an interesting thing. You're right that the hobby has veered much more towards adults, much more to people our age, who are, buying and selling cards and doing these shows. I have a son who is into sports cards, but he has honestly been more into Pokemon cards than he has been into sports cards. And not a lot of his friends at school are doing sports cards. A lot of them are doing Pokemon. And so, what that means long-term, I don't know. It would be great to get more kids into it. Of course, you have some challenges now with the fact that the products that everybody is really excited about and wanting to chase are very expensive products, and even, with how crazy the market's been this year, even for basketball, it's like NBA hoops isn't even affordable anymore. Like what product is affordable at this point? Like Revolution's not affordable anymore. Like, some of these products that were some of the lower end products, even things like Status and Absolutes are being marked up, and so it's like, some of the products that are used to be the ones that, like, okay, well, you could at least, your kid could at least go to Target and buy a box of Status cards for $19 and or $14 and get a bunch of packs. And well, maybe not anymore, because even those are in demand at a higher level.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe there's room for Geoff Wilson cards or something. Maybe a collab, dollar packs. That would be pretty cool. Any cards you want to show us real quick? We know you might have a little stack near you.
I do. I brought, I thought, you know, I didn't know if you guys were going to want to see some cards or not. So I figured since I'm down here in Atlanta and you guys are up there in Canada, that I have to bring a little Atlanta love up to you and up to your viewers. So I got my Trae Young collection here.
Okay.
So Trae Young, obviously, an Atlanta product. Let me we'll just randomly go through some of these. You know, these encased cards, they're ones that have never, really never caught on from an investment standpoint as much, but man, I love the look of those cards. And, you know, it's just such a clean, crisp on-card auto. Here's another one from encased that, you know, I just think those are nice looking cards. And I don't know if they'll ever really catch on in popularity, but I like them. So I just bought some of them. The Immaculate is another set that I like a lot. I've got a few different Trae Young Immaculate RPAs from 2018, 2019 Immaculate. Those are a couple of them right there, you know, jersey swatches with, you know, just nice, again, very clean. And I like the surface of these Immaculate cards. I'll probably end up getting those ones graded. See what else I got in here. See what other fun things I got. A Prism Gold number /10. It's kind of cool. That's a Prism Gold auto of Trae Young number /10 there.
So when were you getting these? Kind of recently, or?
I've been collecting Trae Young pretty heavily over the last year. I you know, just like him I like him a lot as an investment. I think he's a good investment. That's another one from Encased, you know, which is a nice looking one. And then here's the Mac Daddy. That's this is the National Treasures RPA.
I think I was talking to my one of my buddies about that. I was talking to him about how some cards with colors and composition, they just look so much better. And there's something about, as a collector standpoint, that's a beautiful card.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the Atlanta Hawks cards is their jersey colors are so bright that, like, you get that kind of neon yellow green that they have on their jerseys right there, and it's just like it pops off the card. So yeah, I like that. Those are that's a neat patch on that card. A lot of the Hawks cards that have the patches have really cool patches.
So is that one going to fall in your PC, or are you going to sell that one?
Probably PC, if he stays with Atlanta. You know, if the Hawks build a team up around him, and, you know, I think honestly the Hawks have a really good young nucleus, so I think the Hawks will be good in the next couple of years. So assuming they're able to keep him in Atlanta and keep a team together, and they start, you know, really making a run, then I would definitely, you know, hold all this from a PC standpoint. I don't know if he splits town at some point and the Hawks are horrible and never really get it together, then, you know, then maybe I become more opportunistic at that point in time. We'll just see.
Yeah, maybe he plays with LeBron one day. I don't know.
Maybe. You never know.
Yeah, sounds good. But, you know, I've always said the one guy to really be on the lookout for is Luka. Can't wait for Luka to dunk all over Zion.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
that's what I find with
Luka's
some cards.
A great player.
Yeah, that's what I find with some cards, though. I don't know if you find this as well or not, but I get some cards that I want to flip, sell, hold, sell in 3 to 5 years. But then I end up looking at it and I'm like, how am I going to get rid of this card? This card is beautiful, right? So I buy it from a standpoint too, as a collector, but as an investor, do you ever find do you run into that?
Yeah, sure. Sometimes 100%. I mean, you know, but I like to, when I'm purchasing cards, I do distinctly separate cards I'm purchasing from a PC standpoint versus cards that I'm purchasing from an investment standpoint. Of course, most of the cards I'm buying from an investment standpoint. So I try not to get too personally attached. You know, a lot of the cards I'll buy and then they'll kind of go into a cardboard box because I'm buying them from hey, I'm going to hold this for a couple of years. I think this guy's going to be good. I think I could sell this in a couple of years for more than what I bought it for. So I'm not I'm not as excited about looking at them every day. I just kind of, I bought them just kind of more to hold and more like a piece of currency, or stock or something like that. Whereas other cards I'm buying, like for example, Tim Tebow, one of my, University of Florida guy, this is his Mets National Treasures, Mets on card auto, number to 3 jersey. So obviously Tim Tebow, not an investment card, a PC card. And so cards like this, where I'm like, yeah, that's a beautiful card, and a card I really like. These ones I'll keep out and I'll display and, that. And so fall in love with your PC cards, but your investment cards, I guess, squirrel away so you don't fall in love with them. So when the time comes, you can part with them and be fine with parting with them. So another thing I wanted to mention that we're doing at Sports Card Investor is we are doing the virtual Sports Card Con 2020. So this is unfortunately the National had to get postponed. And, I was looking forward to going to the National this year. I know, probably a lot of your audience was, but obviously with the situation with COVID and everything, it wasn't possible for them to have it. But the challenge with them postponing it is that it hurts a lot of dealers' revenue because, dealers are expecting to sell a lot of cards at it. It's a big event for them. And it's also, of course, it's bad for collectors because collectors and investors, they like to go to this. They like to, it's where a lot of people spend their money each year to buy up card collections and all that kind of stuff. So, my team and I at Sports Card Investor decided, hey, let's try to step up and fill this gap. We have a platform in that we have a lot of people that watch our show and a lot of subscribers. So why not use our platform to really try to help the community? We concepted doing a 5-day live streaming online card show where we're going to go around the country via, a Zoom call like this. And we're going to be bringing dealers in from their own stores. And we're going to have them show us the cards that they were otherwise going to sell at the National. And we're going to have a conversation about that. And then all of those cards that they're showing will be available for purchase and for negotiating right then and there in real time. So people who are tuning in will be able to see the cards and say, oh, I really like that one. And they'll be able to try to work out a deal with the dealer and purchase those cards while the show is going on. So that's what we're trying to do with it. And so it's going to be 100% free for people to attend. It's also going to be 100% free for the dealers. We're making it free for everyone as a service to the community. And your viewers can sign up for a free ticket by going to sportscardinvestor.com and clicking on Virtual 2020 in the main menu bar. Again, sportscardinvestor.com, click on Virtual 2020, and you get a free ticket.
Yeah, awesome, Bert. I think that's all I have. So
that's all I have too. Geoff, again, thank you so much for being here. We know how hard you're working, so just to carve this time out of your busy schedule, we truly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Appreciate it, guys. Good luck with the channel and with the growth of everything you're doing as well.
Awesome. All right. Take care.
Take care.